right, welcome to this online international forum organized by the Department of Early Childhood Education here at the Education University of Hong Kong. My name is Dr. Alfredo Bautista, and I am Associate Professor and also Associate Head of the Internationalization here in the ECE department. It's so good to see so many colleagues connected already. So I'm very excited that so many of us are here today. I can see now 77 people for this event. This event we call it Interconversations, right? So Interconversations is, for those of you who are new today, so Interconversation is a series of online events that in the internationalization team here at the ECE department, we started organizing pretty much in the beginning of the pandemic to try to keep the international ECE community connected and engaged in conversations. This initiative actually was very, very well received. So we got a lot of interest from many colleagues internationally. So we decided to continue to organize these sessions, right? To continue to keep our community engaged and connected, right? So for the session today, for the Interconversation Forum today, we have invited one of our department colleagues to coordinate the session and also to moderate the session. So his name is Dr. Weipeng Yang. I'm sure many of you know him. So Dr. Weipeng Yang is an assistant professor in ECE. He specializes in STEM education for young children, and his work has focused on various aspects, including coding, programming, robotics, artificial intelligence literacy, marker space. So this is a little bit about the bio for Weipeng. And so as I was saying, so he has focused on all these various aspects, and also he has done some research related to virtual worlds. So Weipeng's research focuses on also on curriculum design and professional development for early childhood educators. So I think Weipeng is a rising star and a really, really brilliant scholar, and also is a really good colleague and a really good friend. So it's a really good opportunity to have him joining us today in Interconversations. Weipeng, thank you so much for your efforts in organizing this session, and I'm sure it's gonna be really great. So the floor is yours, Weipeng. I will try to close the session at the end, but for now it's like the floor is yours. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alfredo. Hi everyone, I'm Weipeng, the host of today's Interconversation section. And as you can see on the screen, the title of today's section is Computer Science Education for Young Children, What, How, and Why. And today, children grow up in an environment very different from our own. And more than ever, computers have taken over roles that humans used to play. And the debate has shifted from whether children should have screen time to how we can prepare our children with the digital competence needed to take advantage of this brave new world that they have been born into. And as early childhood educators and researchers, it's very important for us to know what is happening in the world of computer science. We do not need to be experts, but knowing some basics gives us the confidence to teach and work with our children in this digital age. So in today's session, I myself and 4 speakers will speak to you and on some fundamental knowledge a preschool teacher should have about computational thinking, robotics, and also artificial intelligence. And they will share some activities that teachers can do with our children to engage them in developing an interest in computer science. And computer science is an amazing field, and its tools, when we use, can benefit to the society and also solve many of the world's problems. And the computing language, just like the programming language, and also similar to other human languages, is very important, especially for an individual when he or her is young. So when we support our young children in this to explore computer science, we not only set them up for success in life, but also try to bring their potential for good to the world. So today we are so glad to have with us our panel of speakers. They are from different countries and have very extensive research experience in early child education and also technology education. And they are experts at different areas. So our section will go like this. We have 5 speakers, including myself. We are going to share with you some of our research and practice in early childhood and or with young children. And each speaker has been given around 10 minutes, very short, but I'm sure it will be very, very condensed and useful to you. So they will give a very short presentation to address some key questions. The first one is, what are some of the fundamental knowledge a preschool teacher should know about a computer science education topic? So for example, coding, artificial intelligence, or robotics. And the second question, what are some related activities that a preschool teacher can implement in the classroom? And what benefits can children gain from these activities? So altogether, after the 5 presentations, we will proceed to a Q&A section, and we will be giving you the opportunities to exchange your ideas with us about not just the presentations, but also the issue of computer science education for young children. Okay, so finally, we will invite you to complete a very short survey so that we can receive your feedback. Okay, so now let's begin. Our first speaker today is Dr. Cynthia Lim, and Dr. Lim is a senior lecturer of early child education at the Singapore University of Social Sciences. And her research interests include adult-child interactions, STEM learning, and early years technology. She is also the lead researcher of the Discovery Play program in Singapore. So Cynthia, please go ahead and share your screen. The floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Lim, and I'm a senior lecturer and deputy head of the degree in early childhood in Singapore University of Social Sciences. Today, I'll be talking about the introduction to computational thinking in the early years. I'll cover what is computational thinking, what are the important skills that children should learn in computational thinking, and give some examples of off-screen computational thinking activities that we can use. I'll end off by giving a brief overview of the landscape of technology for early years in Singapore. What is computational thinking? This term was first made popular by Professor Jeanette Wing, then in MIT, in 2006. But the term computational thinking first appeared in Seymour Pappert's Mindstorms book in 1980. Seymour Papert is one of the pioneers of computer science for children, and his vision was that the child should be able to program the computer by communicating with the computer, giving instructions for the computer to do simple tasks, and to use computer as a tool for extending the mind and to develop thinking skills and to create things. So his focus is not on the machine, but on the mind. Computational thinking draws upon computer science concepts to help us think better. Using Jeanette Wing's words, she says it's like thinking like a computer scientist. And she says that it is a skill set that everyone can learn and use for problem solving and to develop a more analytical mind. It involves breaking down a problem into steps, and some of the skills that she proposed to be computational thinking involves decomposition, pattern recognition, abstraction, algorithm design. There are also other skills like working with variables and debugging problems. There are also computational thinking skills. So to sum it all, computational thinking skills can be likened to precursor skills that children can learn before they learn programming or coding. Let's dive deeper into some of these computational thinking skills. I'm using the example of making a banana split ice cream. The composition is like breaking down a problem into parts. So the parts of a banana split ice cream would include a banana, 3 scoops of ice cream with different flavors, chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, and 3 dollops of whipped cream, as well as 3 cherries. So you break them down into the different parts of the problem. Then pattern recognition is something that we ask the children to learn as a unit of repeat. Pink, yellow, yellow, pink, yellow, yellow, the flavors of the ice cream, right? When they learn this in math. And abstraction is focusing on one part of the problem and filtering out all the irrelevant details. So you focus on the chocolate ice cream or the brown part, and we do not think about the other parts. We focus on this to solve this part of the problem. Algorithm design involves sequential thinking, steps of the problem. For example, how do we make a banana split ice cream? First, we cut the banana into 2, we put it into the bowl. We have 3 types of scoops of ice cream, and then 3 dollops of whipped cream on top, and then we put 3 cherries. During the COVID period, many of our children were taught how to wash their hands properly, right? First, you put the soap, then you put some water, then you rub your hands for 10 seconds. So these are steps they have learned. So we have already been introducing this type of thinking skills for the children in our preschools and our homes. Why is computational thinking important? It is a 21st century skill to help our children be future ready, because we know that in future digital skills are important, like programming, coding. So these are pre-programming skills that children can pick up, and they are useful for problem solving, helping them to be more critical thinkers and analytical thinkers. And these skills are transferable to other fields. For example, pattern recognition is used not only in math, in science. We also use this in philosophy and psychology. So we can integrate areas of learning through using these skills. And computational thinking is already used by all of us in our daily routines, right? Already in our classrooms, as we have seen, for example, the procedures and steps in washing our hands. To give some examples of computational thinking, when the children when they play and they build structures using Lego bricks, they actually compose and put those bricks together to compose a structure, or they take them apart, decompose it, right? So they already are using many of these skills. We can focus and draw their attention to these thinking skills. In the area of abstraction, for example, if a child opens up a cupboard or a wardrobe to see all the clothes that she can wear today, and it's a rainy day, we ask her to focus on what are the clothes that she should use today, because it's cold, it's raining outside, what should you wear? So she picks up long pants, she picks up her boots, she picks up the raincoat. So that is filtering out all the other clothes that are not relevant for the day. So that's abstraction skills. And all these are the activities that do not require screen time. So in algorithm design, when we get our children to bake cookies or to follow a recipe to make a vegetable soup, they have to follow steps. So they have to learn how to, first we do this, second we do this, so we follow some procedures. So this is algorithm design. Even brushing teeth, there are certain steps you need to take. Pattern recognition, when we invite the children to go out to see a pattern hunt, we look at tiles, we look at clothes, we look at the nature to see where are the patterns and the units of repeat, what are the rules that govern the pattern. So these are examples of some unplugged activities that we can use to promote computational thinking skills. Before 2017, when technology was becoming a buzzword, many of the preschools, they invited outside vendors to come in to conduct enrichment classes in coding, in robotics for the young children. But there was no national initiative until 2017 when our government agency introduced the Playmaker program, and they invited 160 schools to come on board to learn how to use technology toys like the B-boards on the right. And then on the left is Keyboard. You see children scanning codes and giving commands to the robot to do things. Teachers were trained to use these technology tools to promote thinking for young children. And today, most of our anchor operator preschools have this technology as theme in their curriculum. As for computational thinking, it's still a new concept, I should say. In our university, when we offer programs and electives for our students and in-service teachers, we try to promote the idea of computational thinking. And we work with partners like Preschool Market, who during the COVID times, they've produced a few videos on computational thinking to try to encourage parents at home and teachers also to encourage this pattern recognition. For example, using Fruit Loops. This is a little video that we will show for you to watch, and they are one of those advocates of computational thinking in Singapore.
Is that the fruit?
Now, this is actually called a repeat function or a loop, where a set of instructions is repeated a number of times or until another condition is met. The condition ends when we have finished up our cup foods, or we have finished our jelly solution, or if we have simply finished making the jelly in the mold. What we have done is we add the fruits, we pour the jelly solutions, and we add the fruits, and we pour the jelly solution. We added the fruits, we pour the jelly solution, we add the fruit, and we pour the jelly solution until we have finished making all our jellies. Now, how can we simplify this? We simplify by using repeat function. So, how many times do you want to do? Times 2, times 4, or even times 8.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Okay, so it's a very vivid explanation of computational thinking that can be applied in early childhood settings. So thank you. And our second speaker is Dr. Sarika Kewalramani. Dr. Kewalramani is a senior lecturer in STEM education at the Swinburne University of Technology in Melbourne, Australia. And she was an experienced teacher of science and mathematics in primary and secondary school before becoming a researcher in STEM-based play using technologies such as robotics. So Sarika, please go ahead and share your screen.
There we go. Great. Thank you, Weipeng, and thank you, everyone, for the kind invitation. I'm really excited to share my journey and my research in relation to the topic that we are looking at and exploring and discussing. Yeah, so my work has looked at how early learning with robotics play, and thank you, Dr. Cynthia Lim was giving a bit of snippets in terms of how in the Singaporean context, early years context, how computer science and robotics has started to play in terms of changing the dynamics of an early childhood classroom, and how we now see, so I'll bring in stories from the Australian research in terms of how we see robotics becoming kind of a tool, a technology tool to spark children, to further spark children's imagination. So this presentation that I'll take you through in about 10 minutes, which we promised, is about two facets. So we started, so thank you, Dr. Bautista, you started with a good conundrum, and Weipeng also spoke about how computer science is now being seen, and back then, you know, it's not a new concept. We know from theoretical perspectives, that robots have been here as a part of the conversation since 2000. So it's a conundrum that we are still dealing with. And now we are in 2023, and it's good that now we are seeing research escalating in this space. So I will take you through some piloted solutions in the Australian context, early years context, that I've been working with my colleagues, and Weipeng is one of the colleagues that we are closely working with in terms of, other than my other colleagues in Europe and Australia on this topic. So OECD now, I mean, this has become a big hot topic when it comes to even global policy context. So what is AI? And we see that AI is now rapidly coming into children's play, and it is actually influencing what children are seeing and imagining in virtual environments. So it's no more hiding. It's no more about saying technology is a taboo. It's about now how we can embed technology, AI interface technologies such as robotics, whether it is screen-based or unplugged ways of bringing in robotics into children's and educators' pedagogies. So what I've trialed with my other colleagues in the international space, we are a consortium of researchers, and we looked at in different countries such as UK, Norway, Scotland, and Australia in terms of intentionally bringing in robots into the early years classroom, but of course capitalizing on play-based learning. The good part of early years is children assimilate with any learning tool. But at this point, what we were finding was how technology can assimilate into a teacher's pedagogy, which is play-based pedagogy. So how the teacher could use as a part of this participatory project for children. So we started as a strength-based approach, that it was all a teacher's intentionality. So the teacher wanted the children to learn the functionality of the robots. She wanted to follow children's interest. The learning intention was about building children's vocabulary through understanding coding and programming. So not per se looking at building that coding understanding, conceptual understanding, but really being more broad and open in terms of what vocabulary children explore based on their abilities and imagination. And also enabling problem solving and creative thinking through STEM-based opportunities. And last but not the least, because the teacher was, because the kinder was a Reggio Emilia-based kinder, so for them it was more so about team-based work and how technology can actually bring children together to come up with a particular project, inquiry project. So what I'm going to share in the next lots of slides is lots of images and pictures, because I think images speak a lot of words rather than me keeping on rambling. So the teacher we started with to ease the teacher into, because again, at this point, teachers are still apprehensive to bring in technology, but this was 2019 before COVID. Now it's readily, the teachers are embracing technology. So this was a non-screen based robot, Botley. And again, looking at international evidence, you can bring in lots of robots in a classroom, but then what is the technology tool serving the purpose? So it's always important for the teacher to bring in that planning, that intention. So over here it was getting children to ask a lot of questions about how this robot works or does not work, and how does it fail, for example. So the beauty of technology is that it fails rapidly and repeatedly, but that's where the problem-solving elements come in. But also we want to bring in something into a child's environment where they understand that it is here to fail. So my role or our role in peer-to-peer discussions is about problem solving. So it's that natural element. But in some cases, robots, we don't want to bring a technology tool that fails constantly and brings around that frustration of no learning or not a substantial learning happening. So these are some responses where children actually explored and they discovered themselves. So the teacher did not start with any explicit teaching of press first 2 arrows, press 3 arrows, the robot is going to go 3 spots from step A to step C. So Annie figured out, I found that robots can dance with a remote control. And there were many other responses in terms of batteries. How does a robot work? It's about electricity. It needs electric power. It needs energy. So we saw a lot of scientific vocabulary blending into children's language and communication development. Then we brought in Koji, which is a screen-based robot. It has a lot of animations. So the teacher wanted the children to understand emotions, and Koji does that a really good job. It has a lot of storyboarding icons, so children can come up with digital stories. But again, it has to serve a purpose, not randomly touching buttons and giving up the play. It was more so about what problems Koji could solve. Koji may want to go out, into the house. So let's build a house. So they started looking at block play, so blending in physical artifacts in the child's environment. So the iPad and the screen time kind of veers away, but the play was more about building blocks and navigating and coding Koji to safely maneuver through the artifact that the children had built. So this was one example. What is a robot? That was a simple question, and a child said, it's a robotic object. It has electricity, on-off switch, remote controls, and moves your pattern. So children actually came up with their own word, moves your pattern, or it moves according to the commands that I give. So that means I need to give sensible commands so the robot can accomplish the task that we have given it to complete. So the children started taking ownership of their play. I can program Botley to move in between colored squares. So we started with giving children some provocations about ready-made story maps, but in about half an hour, children dumped the ready story maps and wanted to build their own stories or obstacle courses for Koji and Botley to maneuver through. So again, lots of hands-on play comes into place. And you can see in the pictures, the iPad is not the essence of the play. It's more so about what obstacles the children can build and code the robot accordingly to solve the task in hand. Again, pretend play. So children started pretending, coming up with their own stories, imaginary situations. So you can see a lot of maths involved as well, shapes, balance, types of different blocks. And some children wanted to go and build their own robots. So you can see Makerspace coming along as well. A happy robot, a safe robot. The middle picture is a robot which has lots of different types of buttons. And the buttons actually eventually started representing solar panels. So what if I don't have any electric power? How else can my robot work? Is through sun's energy, sunlight, and how can my robot run with solar panels? So for example, the children started to build, art and craft artifacts to represent solar panels. So it was more so about imagining, and the imagination started playing out in real world scenarios. So lots of painting, designing their own robots, designing Lego-based homes, constructing different robotic artifacts, because some children started imagining that the robots might be lonely and they need some friends. There are only so many robotic toys we can bring into the environment. So the teacher posed them, oh, how about you build your own robot and make a robot city? So that's the picture of the robot city. And then eventually the children it became a whole group project. Some children started to make, based on their own imagination and stories, that my robot would like to go and have, go to a cafe, needs coffee, needs to go to the toilet, needs to go to the playground. So a whole, this was not the intention, but because it was child-led inquiry, it led to a makerspace project. And this culminated in about 8 weeks. So there was a lot of time and space given for the children to enact their stories and construct their creations. And then we invited, at the end of the term, we invited the parents to come along, where the children took the ownership of displaying their different artifacts and coding the robot from the playground to the cafe, to the toilet, to the car park, and so on. So the children started teaching their parents. So these are, again, some of the artifacts: a farm, a playground, designing their own roadways. So, the arrows, again, the element of computational thinking comes in, a lot of numeracy. And we saw girls as well. In Australia, there's a part, there's a policy agenda in engaging girls in STEM. So we saw through that inquiry project, a lot of girls were excited to build their artifacts and take part in the Makerspace project. During COVID, just before COVID hit, we ran the project in a low socioeconomic status community kindergarten, where a lot of children with diverse needs. And for this teacher over here, she had a very simple learning intention, not about coming up with an inquiry project, but for children to learn, to draw, come together and communicate about a particular imaginary situation, or just simply communicate and share ideas and develop friendship groups. So we saw how children, through everybody's shared ideas, started to talk about and share the ideas. So children who were shy and children who were not willing to share the ideas also cooperated in this project when the robots were introduced. And again, you can see through everyday materials, Legos. So the picture on my right, children are building, a palace garden, and then coding the robot to crash into the palace garden gates. And during lockdown, we invited families to take part, and there were 5 families who took part in the project, and again, a mix of girls and boys, and the robots were sent home. And we saw, because this was not, you could not collaborate for a group project, but every Friday we used to meet on Zoom, and we used to ask children to share in terms of what they've learned, how the robot works, what task did you give the robot to accomplish or construct something for you. So on my top left, where you can see little trees, that little child is teaching the robot to go and play soccer or travel into the soccer playground, because for her, she was an immigrant and she wanted to learn about Australian sports. So she used the robot as an artifact to imagine her story, that the robot is going and maneuvering through the soccer playground. And this was the last piece of robot that I'm still trialing, and I wonder if this could be a discussion, provocation in terms of, this is a fully AI robot and expensive one. And it is expensive, so it's not a buy-in when it comes to bringing in, teach young children to work with a fully AI robot because the teachers are really apprehensive. They're scared it's going to break, or it's just too precious, basically. So, but with this one, I ran just a couple of pilot sessions with not kindergarten children, but grade 1 children, so 7-year-olds, 7 to 8-year-olds. And it was more so about learning the functions and what are the different commands, coding functions of this particular AI robot, because this one can dance, this one can talk, face recognition. And we saw that children, again, were not interested so much to learn the functionality, but for them, it was more so about building the stories. They were just so fascinated with so much the robot can do. It can do yoga, it can do Tai Chi. So for them, it was more so about building stories. So this child over here, group of children wanted to build a robotic arm for this particular child who doesn't have an arm and who wants to, a robot who can help the child eat breakfast. So I'm not sure if you can see clearly, but this particular robot, the precious one, has a cardboardy type robotic arm, which was all sticky taped. And this robot is helping Annie, the child in the problem scenario, to eat her breakfast. So it was just very fascinating to see how children wanted to build their own robotic solutions to help the child eat breakfast themselves. So through all these different evidence-based pilot studies, we've come up with a 5-step framework in terms of how educators can integrate robotics or any technologies, piece of technologies. We are calling it as multimodal play. Multimodal is, again, not a new term. It is out there for several years. A lot of research around it, multimodality, which is blending in virtual and physical spaces, which we saw is quite evident in the Australian case studies. So it's, in essence, a 5-step framework talks about it's co-designing the activities with the children. So child-centered play, a lot of problem-based scenarios, inviting children to storytell, empathy-based situations. It's very important as an educator to build in children's creativity and get them to brainstorm solutions, allow enough time and space for children to understand the coding functionalities, as also brainstorm solutions in real-world situations. And last but not the least, it's so important for children to also represent and give them the power in terms of showcasing their emergent ideas, their constructed artifacts. So after every session, so this was run as a weekly session, the teacher made sure to invite children to share their ideas. No matter wherever you got up to, it's about sharing. So communication was a central process to children's learning and development. And if you would like to see publications about the framework and case studies are available on my profile. And we have a book as well coming along in terms of Australian, Norwegian, and the England context case studies about this project and other technology toys.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarika, for showing us all the good practices of engaging young children in robot play. Thank you. Our third speaker is Dr. Ibrahim Yilta. Dr. Yilta is an assistant professor at the National Institute of Education at the Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. And he has worked on several interdisciplinary studies covering artificial intelligence literacy, computational thinking, and engineering education. And I guess Dr. Yilta is the only one who has not just experience with young children, but also with elder children. Okay, so you, Dr. Yurta Ibrahim, please go ahead and share your screen. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. I really enjoy being here. I'd like to start by thanking to the organizing committee members of the Early Childhood Department of the Education, University of Hong Kong. I am very pleased to be invited and share my research works. Thanks to my colleagues for their great share. Dr. Ling mentioned about computational thinking. Dr. Kewalramani for early learning with robotics playing. And I cannot wait to hear for the rest, Dr. Anika and Dr. Yang. So aligning with the guiding questions, I'd like to emphasize on this title, Potential Opportunities and Pitfalls of Artificial Intelligence in Education. The way that I'm going to move forward is that I like to start from a very broader aspect, and then later on in the last slides, I like to emphasize on the early childhood education or more the primary education setting. So as we all know, AI has been there, in earlier 1960s, actually, it has been there for a quite long time. But when we look at our educational components, is that AI is becoming an increasingly omnipresent tool in our day-to-day lives. From the daily appliances, such as our mobile phones that we use in every day, to high-stake functions such as surgery AI has infiltrated our lives and is here to stay for a long term. And by looking at the explorations of this AI, where we can see, obviously, in our science and engineering aspects of this application, and then by elaborating with our natural intelligence, which is the human cognition. And from that angle, we are able to see that some of the products out there, that AI-driven aspects of the outcome, we're able to see that communication, reasoning, and learning and problem-solving angles. There are several examples and several studies on this angle in a very complex level of outcome. And in fact, if you just take a look at from the historical aspects of it, how AI, more specifically the machine learning algorithms, how it has influenced our historical events, by just looking at the Alan Turing's Turing test will indicate how important it is, the AI concepts in our life, in our aspects of living, and how this can even change the history by just literally a snap of finger. The earlier you expose your students, in early age that you're exposing students to those practices, it will maintain their interest towards the STEM field. That is why starting such practices, AI practices in earlier age is very critical to maintain their interest and to understand the concept of AI, and therefore they can evaluate the consequences and it is beneficial sides of it in their daily life activities. So AI is there, we know that, but what are the potential benefits or disadvantages in that, and whether it is a glory or is a doom? So there are several talks and there are several comments and opinions out there from renowned scholars, pioneer, CEOs and so on. To some, it can end the human race. That's quite scary, but there was one comment here. To some, is more cautiously approached, but it can actually create some unexpected consequences. Therefore, we are advised to be cautious about that. And to some, it's a very beginning stage of the golden age in our historical aspect. And according to Jeff Bezos, we have only stretched the surface of what is possible. Again, we are still in its embryo stage to really explore what AI could potentially provide to enhance our world setting. And then if we really dive in for education, how this could be used, this is still a huge question mark, but still can benefit to have our learning environment, to increase our learning environment. Again, to some, once again, AI is quite attractive, but need to make sure that about the potential of unintended consequences here. And to make sure that additionally, while this is important out there, how this can be benefiting to rest of the society. This is not for a certain level of the group, but how this can be used to maximize the benefits of it to everyone, to be as inclusive as possible. So About the AI aspects of it, those are all beautiful concepts, but how does this relevant? How can this be incorporated into the form of the AI literacy? In terms of the literacy, we need to be mindful about understanding concept and being able to use and apply the concept of AI, and then determine and evaluate the level of these concepts. And additionally, to understand what are the different forms of the concept that is influencing the AI, for example, fairness, ethics, and biases, and so on. Those are the concepts that is being embedded within the AI literacy. And in order to have students to be ready for that, they need to be skilled, they need to be knowledgeable about this concept in order to move forward to understand the whole global competitiveness in the near future. And therefore, our job is that to make sure we empower them and to make sure that what are the potential pitfalls so that they can be aware of them and then protect themselves if necessary. There are some reforms, and there is a push on that one. Initiatives, AI for K-12 in the United States, and here in Singapore, we have AI for Singapore. There is a massive amount of investment as well as the effort how to empower our new generation to improve their sense of AI literacy. And there is a paper that we're working on it, that we are promoting the AI, not in a sense of the coding or programming or computer science angle. We are promoting AI as a way to zero coding digital tool that we created together here to make it more in a personalized manner that is going to have a positive impact on social angle. And we embedded this AI model that is existing out there, which is the facial emotion recognition. And we are infusing the educational psychology component that goes with the negative and positive reinforcement. While using this AI and educational psychology component, it allows us to really promote the concepts of the zero coding environment. And then hopefully, how does this benefit to teacher education standpoint? How does this help the teachers? Is that it helps teachers to keep tracking their students' level of the performance and progress. And at the same time, students are able to learn by themselves by exploring to see where they are and how they move forward and what is the area of the gap and how they can improve on that one. And additional opportunities, it can provide us a personalized space where we can learn and then monitor our own progress. And this can be for our own intra-personal relationship, but at the same time, being very mindful, this also has some backlashes, like while we are interested in our intra-personal relationship, but at the same time, being engaged with AI too much can make you to be away from the social interaction. And the AI could also be helpful to improve your metacognition aspects of it by being able to problem-solving skills and critical and collaboration skills, and maintaining the interest in the early childhood by infusing the AI practices could enable individuals to create their interest and curiosity towards those careers. So it can create opportunities in that angle. And some of the challenges about AI in early childhood, again, there are several factors that we should consider. Biases and ethics when it comes to that concept, personal colors, for example, to what extent this is going to be inclusive enough to provide the sense of the learning and increase the personalized learning environment, as well as to increase the inclusivity. So this is a question there for us to keep asking each other on that one. And then another aspects of it that reduce the human interaction when you're too much engaged with the AI concept. It can actually diminish your skills to not to be socially intelligent, and when it comes to the collaborative angles with the social norm. And one thing that it's important to mention that the lack of financing for that angle in earlier childhood, bringing the tools is quite expensive, and not being able to bring the concrete models that we can use in our school setting can just stay in the theoretical aspects of it. And when it's on the theory, it can stay on the abstract model, and not being able to convert this from the theory to practice can just stay there and not being able to really practice it in hands-on activity. And this could bring the difficulties to understand the AI. Having said that, I am providing here the references. Once again, thanks to organizing committee members of the Early Childhood Department of the Education University of Hong Kong. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your insights on AI literacy for young children, Ibrahim. And our first speaker is Miss Anika Saxena, and she is a doctor to be. Okay, so it's a secret. And Miss Saxena is a lecturer at our department. And before coming here, she worked for many years in early child education in Hong Kong, holding positions of senior leadership in local and international schools. Her research interests are in computational thinking in early child education and creative aspects of teaching and learning. So Anika, the floor is yours, and please go ahead and share your screen.
So I'm so privileged to present here and speak in front of with the people who are already well established in the field. And I got opportunity to share my thoughts in this particular seminar, and I'm so happy to share that. So I'm just a small potato here, but I just wanted to say something what I believe. So working in ECE sector, I really feel that if we wanted to integrate technology or computational thinking or AI in early childhood classroom, we really have to have that kind of something which we need to train our in-service teachers, and also our teachers who are going to be the teachers for tomorrow. So with that note, I just wanted to show you a little bit about myself. So I am a family person, you can see here, but that I was 10 years ago, so you can see the difference. And my hobbies are painting, cooking, drum playing, and I'm passionate about early childhood education. I really love them. And my research interest, as you know already, that so let's not waste time on that, because you know already I have computational thinking, STEM education, ICT integration, and teacher training is my research interest. So I come back to the point where I just heard a lot of good points from our, the people who were presenting before me, and I really appreciate that Dr. Yete said that earlier you expose to young learners, right? And that is kind of you are giving them those skills. And similar thing what Dr. Cynthia have mentioned, and also Sarika has mentioned. So I'm so why people say like, why coding in early years? So I really say that is very important. Like, for example, we don't teach young children how to read and write straight away. We give them those skills, teaching environmental sounds, teaching phonics, right? So this is the time when we give them those skills, which later they can transfer. So it's transferable skills. So I will not overlap my conversation with what you know already about what is CT, right? And what are the areas of CT dimensions and how we implement in classroom. Rather, I focus on a little bit extra going it with the environment, teaching environment. So how the regular teaching environments, you can fit these things in and following the progressive way of doing it. So I'm not very much pleased with exposing young children with lots of screen time and things. But the beauty of computational thinking and the aspects we can teach actually in a progressive way without using screens, and then go further with it. So on that, I just wanted to say, to start with, when you're starting, so this is my appeal to the kindergarten teachers here. So if you wanted to put this in your classroom, the very easy way to start it unplugged, just to know what are the conceptual understanding you wanted to teach? Like we have learned from Dr. Cynthia's presentation, right? So you should know just those conceptual understanding, and you can go in a very play-based manner with unplugged teaching. So no computer or electronic equipment required. There is nothing that you have to buy from outside. So it's all simple, like, coding cards, which is arrow cards, embodied recognition. You can see that the children can walk like tic-tac-toe. We always play, right? Similarly, the finding the place, problem solving things, and finding the path for this particular robot or maybe the car, that how they go from one place to another. You make it more a little bit more challenging to the students by adding problem solving in this. So that's the first step you can definitely implement in I can say you can start it from 3 to 4, and it's fine to do that. Actually, I have done it in 6 kindergartens in Hong Kong. So next is, like, I will say the second one, I will say the next progressive environment where you can integrate it based on, you should have tangible block-based activities, very, very similar to our block play, right? But what it's here that these blocks has got some kind of functionality attached to it. So there are many different kinds. So I didn't put names there. So this is known as Kiwi. Here is means these are ample of different kinds of these kind of toys available in the market. So if you can see that, so these kind of simple toys will give them following step-by-step procedures, giving them directions. So first, when they learn through the small simplistic activities, and then they transfer those skills to these kind of block-based learning. And in this tangible block-based means, okay, I wanted my robot to spin. What comes next? I want to spin in another direction, or make a hokey pokey song, or whatever. So it's just, there are lots of direction. And basically, what are these? These are basically the loops, conditionals, sequences. They're learning in a very hands-on way, from concrete to abstract. And we're actually moving towards that very developmentally appropriate way. Okay, so next I will say, like, as we already have touch base on it with Dr. Sarika's presentation, robotics. And here comes the next level is robotics, because once you used to with that tangible blocks, that what are the commands, how it's just, you have to transfer those skills to operate these particular robots, which is very well designed, and a lot of things in the market. The most commonly available are kind of B-bots. Some are screen-based. Again, it depends on your own being teacher, that you wanted to use the screen, and there is a lot over there which you can see here. So these all pictures what you are seeing are from some of my experiments what I have done with the children in different schools, and those principles I think are available here. They may recognize these. So you can see that there are lots of and they're so excited to do it. So we were programming through this, you can see this particular robot, and then they were having their own imagine, like, this dinosaur, what you can see, they pretend, no, we wanted to take this first. It's okay. Let them go and pretend for walking with this, where the other child is giving commands. It's okay. And then we bring out the real robot, which will walk on the commands, what they have given. And here comes the to know where I was wrong, or is it right? And that's another skill set. So if they know, okay, oh, this is the thing, oh, I need to correct it, and they redo it. So learning by doing, it's all coming in place. So you can see that it's very easy to do, very easy to find. Yes, this might need some budget. Okay, of course. But there are other activities you can do with a very low budget toys, right? So it doesn't need, but you need to be enthusiastic for that. All right, so let's go further. Here comes the fourth thing, kind of learning environment you can see. But I will not say that this is a little bit difficult. But yes, if you are your child, or if you are a teacher in international kindergarten in Hong Kong or context, I am saying, so you get the year 1 students, which are actually 6 to 7 years. And they're quite resourceful. So these are quite good essence, like, that is Scratch Junior. And it's just a simple drag and drop feature. But of course, they need basic skills for that. So all those basic skills, like you can teach them through unplugged, tangible block play, and also different kinds of robotics activities. I also wanted to add, in one of the experiment, we have taken these kind of commands actually to teach the Scratch. What is this kind of programming? We have taken this in an unplugged manner first. So printed out all those commands to make them familiar to even the year 1 students, and let them settle this like a puzzle and see what happened. And then give them screen exposure so that they're aware of what does loop means, what does degrees means. So this way, it was more hands-on experience for them. And remember, in all these stages, you can see that how it's more transferable, how it's more concrete to abstract experience they are getting. And there is a progressive curriculum for that. And these activities could be taught very easily, first through teacher-directed activities. Like, we need to teach something at first. Anything we take for ECE, first we need to teach in that way. And then leave it as a corner, as a learning center in your classroom. Let them explore. And they will come up with so many ideas. Your documentation will enhance their learning. So this is the way to deal with it. So now, what are the benefits that children can gain from these activities? As I said before, it's just like those when you start with the environmental sounds, to recognize them and to take them to the level of reading and writing. Similar experiences here in their early years will give them that kind of internal motivation, also skills and conceptual understandings to learn the computational thinking, AI, and different kind of coding, computer science better in the future, which is really needed in this century. Also, I appeal, whoever is listening to me, please, in Hong Kong context, we really need to add this in the pre-service teacher training. Also, in-service teachers need that kind of PDP so that we can give them skills like to know that what are those, the knowledge part of what it is. And it's so much easier to just execute because you're doing it every day in your class. But the only thing you need to recognize that what it is. And then I'm leaving on you. What should we do next? And that's my food for thought. And I definitely feel you are from the field. Definitely, I wanted to go in Hong Kong. I wanted to appeal to put it to the educational reform and put something for ECE for sure in a very practical way. And with that, thank you so much for giving me a chance to express my views. Over to Weipeng. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you, Anika, for bringing your research and practice here to show how to support children to learn about computational thinking. And finally, it's my turn, okay? And I would like to show my screens. Today, I'm going to share with you about robot programming. And the keyword here is about using robot programming as an integrated learning approach. So why is integrated? So actually, we have learned a lot about like STEM education, STEAM education, and even STREAM education in our sector. And these days, programming education, or sometimes we call it coding education, has also become more and more popular. But today, my point is that actually programming education connects to different disciplines, different learning areas, including science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So that's what I mean integrated. And first of all, I would like to show a very, very short video about how children are engaged in robot programming.
Hello everyone, we are from School for Kids Preschool Singapore. My friends and I would like to help save the humans as there may be not enough energy for billions of people. We are on our way to Mars with my data board to check if we can live there. Oh no! We not enough energy. Let's find the energy before our rocket stops. Great! We found the energy supply and we will reach Mars soon.
Okay, so this is the story about how children play with the robot to programming, okay, to program such a robot so that it can help to problem solve and also complete the tasks. So here we conducted similar kind of programs, robot programming education programs in the Chinese context. And we also use this robot called Matata Lab. And we use culturally responsive pedagogy, okay? So this is how it goes. First of all, we will select a story picture book to inspire our children and also to provide the scenario so that children would like to play with the robot to solve the problem. And in the group activities, the teacher will guide the children to identify a problem from this story. And the problem will become something that they encounter and they will code with the robots. And also sometimes, as mentioned by Anika and also Cynthia, some unplugged activities can be used in this project. And eventually children can share their solutions and also their creations, the artifacts, their products. And actually, we see this as integrated learning because children, they learn not just technology, but also how to collaborate, how to communicate, and how to also share and express themselves, and also reading, right? So they actually learn different disciplines. And also the main purpose of such kind of education programs is to promote their computational thinking, which has been already explained by our speakers. And also, I think there's one more thing is design thinking. So design thinking is a very interesting concept to explain the process of engineering design, and it's such simple. There are in total like 5 or 6 steps. First of all, children will identify the problems. So we say they ask the questions, and then they imagine, and then they do a plan, and they create and test and then improve. And this can be an iterative circle to optimize the solution. So this process of engineering design, or we say design thinking, is very important for our children's school readiness and also their lifelong learning. And why we use culturally responsive pedagogy, CRP, is mainly because it's a strength-based pedagogy. So we actually appreciate children's different cultural backgrounds, and we try to establish their sense of identity in learning. And also we promote equity and inclusivity in the classroom. So we don't use robot or technology to exclude them, but we try to include them in this cultural context. And we also support critical thinking and difference. We will appreciate different ideas in the process of learning. And I would like to briefly show you some of our research findings. And the first important takeaway from my talk is digital learning can encourage creativity and at the same time, self-regulation. For example, we provide them developmentally appropriate tools, such as robots. Some robots, as shown by our speakers, they can really lay a solid foundation for children's school readiness. And also, there is already a very solid line of evidence for promoting such kind of positive digital learning experiences in early childhood settings. And also, our own few observations shown that some positive digital learning experiences can really be useful, especially those that are based on their intrinsic motivation rather than intrinsic motivation. It's from their own inner self, and they were kind of motivated to learn to be engaged in robot programming. And also we've shown that a story-inspired pedagogy can be very culturally inclusive and be encouraging. So I would like to really promote or to consolidate our speakers' sharing to move towards a digital future in early child education. And I really want to say that for us as early child professionals, we have to consider some important aspects to transform our practice. The first thing is that we should provide dedicated space or area with sufficient materials and tools, both traditional and digital. And also we should try to upgrade our schedule to provide sufficient time for our children to experience not just traditional learning experiences, but also positive digital learning. And also when we integrate technologies into our curriculum, we should consider our children. I would suggest to promote something that is child sensitive and not for technology based, not just like technology center, but it should be more child centered, I would say. And eventually we should provide training to our children about incorporating such kind of digital learning into their practice. Okay, so that's all, and it's my sharing. I would like to thank all of you and see if you have any questions to ask our speakers. Thank you.
So very interesting presentations, very practical, very applicable. I am afraid that we have very little time now for the question and answer turn, because I was hoping to have a little bit of a debate. But I guess because some of the presentation ran a little bit over time, so we probably don't have a lot of time for this. I would like to at least invite the speakers and see if you guys would like to provide any reflections or any comments in response to the presentations of the other speakers. That would be probably the best. Weipeng, any final comments, anything you would like to summarize, or any takeaways that you think the participants should take home?
Actually, I've already shared my observations, but maybe I just want a few more words. Like first, thank you so much for all the experts in this field. And I do feel that it's important to empower our teachers. So many of our audience are actually practitioners. So how to give them the right pedagogies and tools to promote so-called computer science education, right? So I think our speakers have shown us so many good examples, yeah, and also insights. So I really appreciate that.
Very good. Thank you very much, Weipeng. How about the others? Anika, Cynthia, Sarika, Ibrahim, anything you'd like to?
Alfredo, I think I can just chip in here very quickly. All were great presentations, very complimentary. And just by looking at the makerspace environment, robotics, and computational thinking, and now that I had shared, some of this AI component, in an industry environment, it's all complementary. And now that we are moving towards this AI-driven world, it has to be effective and efficient. And for example, now that we are working on this angle to be able to ship the things, right? So now it's being more on the AI hybrid environment, and being able to really produce and make the more productions in an effective and efficient way. AI is needed to run the environment in that platform. But with that skill, for us as human beings, we need to have these CT requirements. We need to have these CT skills, being able to use our abstraction, being able to determine the effectiveness of this problem decomposition, pattern recognition, algorithms, and even troubleshooting angles. I know that we don't talk a lot about these CT angles in the fifth dimension, which is troubleshooting. I would like to really emphasize on that a little bit. We need to have this troubleshooting angle all the time to be able to debunk the concept when we are tackling with the instruction environment. And yeah, makerspace environment with the robotics, it is just definitely something that we are going to come back to revisit all the time. Things are very complementary. It's quite exciting to really work in this interdisciplinary area. Yeah, this is a great share. So thanks once again.
Thanks very much to you. Anika, would you like to go ahead, please?
Right. I would like to say, yes, I'm so inspired. And so by all the presentations, and as said, we were just right, in very coherent order, we were going with how means like plugged, unplugged, and how we go with the marker space and different things. And as Professor Yether said that, debugging is most important. And that's what I was saying, even unplugged debugging. Anyway, debugging is a very superior skill, which even we are using AI technology or anything, we require that. And it's all coming from. So at last, I want you to take away with this is something like start using it. Don't be afraid of it in your classroom. If you are a teacher and if you're a principal or if you're a policymaker, please bring it in so that we all can enjoy it in our classroom. And we are here as an educators and researchers to whatever we can support. So please do not hesitate to approach us anytime. So I will be happy to share whatever knowledge and skills I have in this, and definitely open to work with any of you, whoever is interested, wherever around the world. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Anika. I'm reading the comments, very encouraging, very positive comments that participants are typing in the chat. How about Cynthia, Sarika, any final comments that you would like to add?
Yeah, I'll probably jump in terms of how pleasing it was to see that we kind of had similar findings. And I like the comment that Robin's made, that CT does not equal more screen time. So there was a myth in terms of screen-based technologies is just one-way traffic. But what research is showing us that children are actually using that to augment their curiosity. And when educators practitioners see the strengths that children bring along, the abilities, like for example, whether it is collaboration, communicating their ideas, or a simple piece of drawing is also a mode of expression, which is coming from the child's, imagination or inquiry, or learning from each other about what that tool is doing for me in this classroom and how I can maneuver it. So the power then comes back into the children's hands because it is hands-on. That's my reflection, and definitely to bring in pre-service teachers. So I like what Anika's comment was about. This is a new space for us researchers and practitioners. So how do we bring along our pre-service teachers, which is our real job, bread and butter as teacher educators. Teaching is our bread and butter as well for the university show to run, not just research. So there's some food for thought.
Very good. I can see that you have a comment saying someone proposing you a collaboration, so you may want to go and read the comments here. There's somebody contacting you directly. And yeah, anything you would like to add to close the session before we close the session?
I just want to encourage everyone to try it out, to try to integrate technology into your classrooms. It's not really that difficult, as you can see from all the presentations and all the ideas. And to continue to read up and to just experiment. Yep, that's all. Yeah.
Well, excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. Especially thanks, Weipeng, for organizing this. I know that you have been really working really hard with all of the presenters. So finally, I always need to say in these sessions, thank you so much to Sophie Chua, who is the person who is now you are seeing, and also Jana, who is also helping us in coordinating this. Sophie, you are wonderful. You are always so helpful and do so many good things for the department. So thanks so much for your time organizing the session. So to everybody, it was great to see you again. Hope you can continue to stay in touch with our ECE department in our social media. So as you know, we have all kinds of social media platforms to stay connected with you. We have LinkedIn, we have Twitter, we have Facebook. If you want to stay in touch with us on any of these social media platforms, so just scan the QR codes and you will keep updated on the different sessions and seminars that we always organize. Apologies that the session ran like a few minutes overrun. So thanks again for your time tonight, and see you very soon. All right.